We were together for 7 years before we got married. We lasted 7 days after. It sounds like the setup to a bad joke, but it's my life. I met my ex when I was 25, and he was 40, a tall, dark, and ridiculously handsome man with a 4-year-old son, and a divorce in his rearview mirror. He'd just moved to my town, and we met on a dating app. From the beginning, there was this insane chemistry between us, but I also felt a tiny knot of unease. He had a lot of unresolved issues, family drama, a complicated dynamic with his ex, and the weight of raising his son. Looking back, I can see he probably wasn't in a place to be fully present in a relationship, but I was young, naive, and drawn in by the intensity of it all. We fell hard and fast. At first, it felt like we were in our own little world full of passion, laughter, and wild experiences. But along the way, the cracks started to show. He had an upbringing that sounded like something out of a Netflix docuseries. Born and raised in a cult with a psychopathic leader who is now facing federal charges, seriously. That trauma shaped him in ways I didn't fully understand at the time. He carried guilt from his failed marriage, his infidelities, and a messy co-parenting dynamic. I, meanwhile, had my own history of growing up with an alcoholic parent, which made me default to staying small and accommodating others. It was a perfect storm for an unbalanced relationship that could hold all of the disappointment and resentment I carried from my own childhood. I moved in early on and stepped into a parental role with his son. I adored that kid. He was sweet, funny, and full of light. But his dad's inability to parent consistently often put us at odds. Over time, I realized I was pouring myself into this relationship while he remained emotionally distant and dismissive. Every disagreement turned into him running away, shutting down, or turning things back on me. I thought love would be enough to fix it. Spoiler, it wasn't. Fast forward several years. I was in my early 30s, ready to get serious about building a life. He proposed to me, and I believed marriage would be the thing to solidify us. We even went to counseling, where I laid out my need for more balance and equality in our relationship. For a moment, things felt better. We planned the wedding, and last September, we finally tied the knot. 7 days later, we had an argument about something small. He blew off one of our dates, and it was one of those moments where I needed him to step up, and instead, he never came home. Just like that. No effort to work through it. He sent me an email to say he was done, came back to grab his stuff, and emptied my jewelry box for good measure, and moved out while I was away. He left no room for discussion or closure. To make it worse, he refused to let me say goodbye to his son, or for his son to say goodbye to the family dog. I was gutted. Looking back, I can see it so clearly now. I spent years excusing his behavior, empathizing with his trauma, and making myself smaller to accommodate him. It was exhausting, and instead of becoming stronger together, I lost more and more of myself. His decision to leave, while devastating, forced me to confront that truth. How do I feel about it now? I'm still grieving, still trying to make sense of it. But I'm also grateful to be out of a relationship that wasn't serving me. It's been one of the most confusing and painful experiences of my life, and I'm desperately trying to find myself again. It's not been easy, and today has been painful. To anyone considering marriage, love isn't enough on its own. Pay attention to the red flags, even the ones you don't want to see. And for the love of all things holy, keep your jewelry in a safe place.